read any religious textbooks, if you've read anything on Hinduism, Buddhism, Christianity, right, about oneness and interconnectedness, how our souls are connected to divine, how we are extensions of divine, all of these things, right, religion has been talking about for eons. And science is just now finding out that it might actually be supported by science, that it might actually be, while theoretical, I mean, gravity is still a theory, because we don't know what exactly gravity is, we just know it exists. So in the same way, we know this phenomenon's happening, right? And we know it's a possibility, it hasn't been disproven. And with the work, this foundational groundwork that Guruji is doing, right, proving that consciousness, right, is that catalyst that makes things happen. It's that catalyst that creates the fortune in our lives. It's that catalyst that, determines whether we're going to have harmonious relationships, determines where we're going to be having a good experience of life or not, determines our health, determines our vitality, determines our mental peace, our clarity. All these things are byproducts of higher consciousness. They're reflections, they're emanations of consciousness. And it's like Guruji said, if you're prioritizing, right, the ingredients instead of the catalyst behind it, that actually makes the change, that actually makes things happen. We're missing the outcome. You see so many people in the personal development industry and wellness and all these different, tricks and practices and all these different things out there. And it's like, scientists, once science catches up with it, right, we start to realize that these are just fads and they don't actually have any scientific or significant science behind it. Right? People will just run with a fad because we're process oriented, because we're focusing on the wrong thing to determine outcome. And when one thing we realize isn't really working or doing much, or we need something because we want the next kick, the next adrenaline, right? We want another short-term outcome and we're not focusing on the actual long-term outcome, whether we're actually gaining anything from this. We're just entertaining ourselves and the entertainment factor makes us feel better, but the actual outcome isn't there. Not to any substantial degree. And we just keep circulating these things over and over and over again when we're missing this big flashing neon sign. There's actually a really fun experiment that you can do, even just on an experiential level. Right? It's not something very deep, but if you just sit for a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself, what am I going to think of next? And just wait for an answer. Just do it right now. Just close your eyes. What am I going to think of next? Does anything come up? No, the mind goes quiet because the mind doesn't know what to do. But this is the reality of someone who lives in that state of quietness and stillness all the time. That thing that you could experience for a brief moment by confusing your own mind into stillness, right? Not a permanent solution, but something that can give you a glimpse, just an idea. I mean, that's something that you can actually attain. that you can actually live in all the time is that complete stillness. That absence of projected thought that's always defining things and making things out to be maybe things that aren't really how they are. That puts a very specific quality or description to something that inherently has none. That is what I'm talking about when I talk about purity. You'll hear in every religion, there's always this continuous notion about purity. Purity is important. Purity is essential for spiritual growth. Purity is your conductivity to divine grace. The more pure you are, the greater you can grow in this environment. The greater you can grow in consciousness, the greater you can grow in fortune, the greater you can grow in nearly every aspect of your life. This comes from a place of purity. But people take the reverse aspect of it, that they observe those who are pure and they see the behavior side of things. So they try and mimic the behavior without understanding where that purity is coming from. What is the source of that purity? What is purity? And we can romanticize it, we can talk about it in many different ways, but ultimately, what purity means, what purity is just simply consciousness without any mental modifications. That is purity.